Timur is Russia's most commercially successful film director ever. His films have broken box office records many times over. Particularly his Russian language films, Darkest Hour, Black Lightning. These have had great success. He's also had huge success in Hollywood with films such as Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. You'll know his version of Ben-Hur as well. He's also a producer of films. His recent films, most recent Hollywood production, The Current War, that I'm sure you will have seen. And he's also, since 2015, been developing a number of Screenlife films such as Searching and Unfriended. So it's a great delight to open the Screenlife Accelerator with Timur, and I'm going to hand over to him, who's going to take us through the origins and principles of Screenlife. Timur, are you there?
Hello. I'm excited to see your faces. I think I made a lot of movies, and some of them were good, some of them were not. And unfortunately, the list of movies were just presented was not the best movies I made, as I think. And I can be proud to share with you another list of names. Like, for example, I directed and made a movie called Wanted 12 years ago. I produced a movie called Hardcore Henry. I think you know this movie. It's a first-person POV action flick. I produced a movie with Tim Burton called Nine. It's animated movies from 2009, and many others. And I'm sure you understand that when you're producing different projects, some of them are good, some of them not, some of them you love, some of them you hate, and it's normal. But 7 years ago, I was on a call with my like now, like Zoom, but there was no Zoom at that time. It was Skype. On the call with my colleague in Moscow. Her name is Olga, and she producer, and she shared screen with me, and to discuss the poster of the movie we were trying to release. And when we finished this conversation, she forgot to push unshare button. And for the next few minutes, I was watching her desktop and what she's doing during the conversation with me. She forgot, and I saw her buying some intimate stuff, chatting with her boyfriends, and then I said, Olga, stop, sorry, you forgot to unshare your screen, and I see everything. And she was very upset and said, I'm sorry, please, I'm sorry. And at that moment, when we finished this conversation, I understood that I was inside somebody else's mind. It was just unbelievable. I was not, I never had this feeling before. Then I'm inside somebody else's mind or heart, even, I don't know. And I saw every detail, like how she typed, how she deleted, how she was trying to say her friend one thing, but then they changed her mind and said something totally different, and how she was trying to buy one whatever piece of something, and then because there was not enough money, and she changed for something cheaper, and I was totally inside her personality. And when we finished, I decided that we should try to make movie using this language, this possibility. And we began. I had an assistant, Nelson Greaves. We were in the middle of production of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and I asked Nelson, please, let's write the story. about about people chatting to each other and Skyping to each other, and let's make a movie when you see the screen of the character without cameras. And he wrote, but a few weeks later, he wrote the treatment of the story. It was genre. I said, let's make it genre because it'll be easy for us to understand how the language works. Let's make it like some simple genre movie, like horror movie. And then he brought the story, and this story was Unfriended. It was a story about six friends on Skype chatting to each other, and suddenly the girl, the girlfriend appeared from afterlife world and killed them all. And it was just simple. And we decided, okay, I said, who knows? I don't know how we can make it, but let's make it. I called my friend Leo in Russia, brought him to Los Angeles, and we began the production. Just we had script, we had some first draft of the script, and we started. We went through the casting, through the traditional filmmaking, traditional process of filmmaking, but with a different media, with a different type of movie. And we made very quickly, like it took like 6 days to shoot the movie, to shoot the first version of the movie. And then we were in I lived in the Walt Disney house in Los Angeles, and there is a screening room. It's a Walt Disney screening room. He screened dailies every day from 1932 till 1950 in this room. And I remember when the first time we screened Screenlife movie in this room, and and I was shocked that I was shocked. It was not perfect cut. It was not great movie, but I feel that I never seen this before. I never seen such a uh, such a intriguing, captivating. Yes, do you hear me? Yeah, yeah. And of course it was long 12 months of re-editing, reshooting, redubbing, and the script was changed. But 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 the core, the general, the big idea, high concept was exactly what we discussed with Nelson in New Orleans making Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Exactly the same. And then I had a long months of trying of uh, 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 me trying to sell this to different studios, distributors, saying, "Hey, we have a great movie. It's all happening on computer screen. Check this. You've never seen it before." And people said to me, "You idiot! Who will pay money to go to the theater to see the computer screen?" And I said, no, but it's how we live. It's how we spend time and how we express ourselves now. But because there was no pandemia, there was no COVID 5 years ago, nobody understood me. People said, it's not really a reality. It's just something weird. Nobody wants to experience in the theater. But then, thanks God, in Montreal, there's a festival in Montreal, and great guy, Mitch, he helped us and he put this movie in front of the audience, and it was successful screening and a lot of articles. And finally, our friends, I have a long history relationship with Universal, with Jason Blum, they picked the movie and they decided to help me to release this movie theatrically. and movie was released 2015, and 5 years ago, and suddenly it became an event. It made 65 something million dollars box office with a very minimal P&A spent, because it was a small movie, less than with a budget less than 1 million. Honestly, I'll tell you, much less than 1 million, and because it was all done in editing room in garage of Disney house, of Disney Walt Disney house, and uh, and uh, and I was very it made money. We sold it. It made money for a studio. We made money, and like, I don't know, 10 times more than we spent. And then I was very enthusiastic, knocking in every door in Los Angeles with the pitch. Okay, now we have five new stories we can tell the same way, and every studio told me, every executive told me, and it's a one-time gag. It's gimmicky. If you will repeat it second time, people say, it's the same as Unfriended, and nobody wants to see it again. And I said, no, it's not, because it's not about the way how we capturing. It's not the it's not the it's a language. It's a new language. It's a language when we are telling stories about different part of our behavior, our reality. Because I told them, we live 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day in physical space, but the another 6, 8 hours a day, we live on our screens. We're falling in love, we meeting new people, we creating new ideas, we stealing ideas from our best friends, or they're stealing from us, or there is a drama, people torturing each other, cyberbullying, hacking, I don't know, the whole bunch of activity, like happening not in physical space anymore. But it was before COVID. Nobody understood me, and people said, "Thank you." No. Then I had a project about squirrels killers. The horror movie about squirrels killing people in Los Angeles, and we were ready to shoot this stupid movie, and then I said, wait, it cost $8 million. What if I will produce 8 movies like Unfriended instead of one movie about squirrels? And we decided, we shut it down, the squirrels project, and we began we greenlit the uh, series of Screenlife projects, and one of them was searching, and the searching it was the next big successful project. It came to us after the competition contest we announced, and the director was with a young filmmaker from Google. He worked for Google marketing department. I think he was creating commercials for Google, and he brought us the concept with his friend Anish Shaganti, and his friend producer Seth Ohanyan. They brought us the concept of the searching and they came to me with an idea that it's a short, and they brought to us and said, "Can you help us to make a short?" And I said, "No, I don't think it's a short. I don't need shorts. I don't need this. I need a movie." And we greenlit, and I asked them to write the script, and we greenlit the feature. And we financed, we produced, and this movie was sold 2017, I think it was 18, 17, 18 maybe, I don't know. It was sold to Sony 18, and became a next hit. It made even more. It made 80 something, five, I don't know, $5 million theatrically, and and then we made a movie called Profile. It was it will be it's a secret. It will be sold now. It's now on a big studio buying it. It will be another a big release, and we produced another three movies now ready to be released. And now we have more than 30 projects in production in different. Just one second. It's my screen live. It's my screen live. And we have an office in India. We have an office in on Cyprus in Europe, now in Liverpool, and United in Los Angeles. And we're trying to partner with different people to produce Screenlife content for different platforms, for different way of distribution, and we produced movies for theaters. We produced web shows. For example, on Snapchat, you can check, please. There is a web show called Dead of Night. There was a 2 seasons. First one, and both seasons has a breaking record numbers. Like, I don't know, there's a nobody knows specifically how many people watched this, but it's hundreds of millions, and because platforms not releasing numbers, but we know that it was most successful project on Snapchat. And we producing movies with Sony, with Disney, with Universal. We will release, we will premiere our next movie on Sundance this year, and it's a Romeo and Juliet. It's in Screenlife format. It's a famous whatever story told with the Screenlife language, and we produced the web series called iBible. It's a holy book told in Screenlife language, and it'll be premiered at South by Southwest in March. We have a project in production called Blood in Japan. 2 projects in South Korea, and I hope we will have something in Liverpool and in England soon. This is overall. We are, as a company, we're developing different tools to help this movies to be unique. Tools how to make these movies, how to distribute these movies, how to market these movies differently. When we'll have a moment, I will show you. I will share my screen. I will show you how it works. And I'm happy. We wrote the book, how to make Screenlife movies, with all the experience of different people who were involved in production for the last 5-7 years. This book will be available. We have some video lessons on screenlifer.com. We will give you the link. You can watch this video lessons with some tips and everything what we invented or understood. And we will be happy to talk to you if you will have specific ideas, and we can try to help to share our experience. If a few words about this language. I call it language. It's a language or format, but let's say language, because it could be different genres. Screenlife movies could be horror. We have ones. It could be comedy. We have a Liked. It's a movie with Logan Paul and you know, this crazy guy who will fight with Mayweather soon, with Logan Paul, and we have it's a comedy. We have a movie Romeo and Juliet. It's a classical play. We have a movie with Universal with Ice Cube and Eva Longoria. Is a disaster sci-fi movie. We have a fantasy story about the dragons in internet. I mean, it could be different genres. It doesn't matter. It's the same language, different genres, the same language. And the screen language is very simple. For me, it's very simple how I can describe it. It's the stories took place on the screen of the of our characters. It's the stories where you cannot shoot by camera, traditional way. For example, if we will now argue online, if you will put camera here in my room, there is nothing interesting. You will see just empty room or nothing really dramatic, because all drama happening online when I'm typing or chatting and many people now making Screenlife content the last year, because there is no other way to tell stories. But what I see, that people are repeating our mistakes from 5 years ago. The mistake's very simple. First, what we did, we think that the Screenlife is just talking heads, like to use web camera. And this web camera is the only interesting tool to tell stories. But then when I made Unfriended, suddenly I understood, because we forgot this to shoot the scene. There was one missing scene, and we didn't have the money to make it. And I said, what if we will make the scene in Messenger, not in Skype, but they will type to each other. They will chat. And we made it, and it was unbelievable discovery for me that the scene happened simultaneously with the Skype when people chatting, talking, and separately chatting has unbelievable, intimate, and powerful narrative experience. And then we understood that I understood that the story could be told not only when you capturing faces, but also if you don't see me, for example, and I will just you don't see me, the story it's intriguing. And if you see me typing or chatting, if you see my screen, not my face but my screen, it's very intriguing and captivating. And then I understood that, for example, the set design, like traditional in movies, aesthetic, it's not what you see on the screen now here. It's not my room. It's my screen. If I will share my screen with you, just let me try to do it. I'm sharing. You see my screen now, yeah? And you see you see some mountain, whatever, rocks on background, and it tells a lot about me, yeah? You see the addresses, you see how unorganized my desktop, and it tells a lot about me, more than what you see in my room, because it's inside me. Yeah, you can click and see my photos, and you see what's on my screen, and you see the process of how I'm clicking, and you are inside me, and this is a language. This is a way. This is Screenlife language to follow the behavior of the character by observing the screen and what's happening on the screen. And there is a lot of interesting details. For example, sorry, now I don't know how to switch it off, but so, just 1 second, because you'll see too much. I don't know where's my. Okay, that doesn't matter. There is nothing bad, I hope. The what's important is I think this is probably the way. What's important that we understand that the production designer, the art director of the Screenlife movie must spend time to create the desktop and the of the character of the characters of the movie. Here, let me switch it off. Stop. Do you see me still? Oh no. Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can see you, but we can still see your screen. We can still see your screen at the moment.
How to switch it off? Oh, okay, I know how to.
There we go.
Okay, gone. Sorry. And also about the look in traditional movies. I'll try to explain to you briefly the difference. In traditional movies, you see the screen in the theater. Let's say it's a white wall with the shadows. Yeah, with the colorful shadows. Yeah, do you agree? And your brain interpreting it as a window in some other world. It looks like a window. You see through the wall. You see there is some other fields, whatever, or ballet or whatever, horses riding or airplane flying. You think it's a window, and in the 2-3 minutes of the movie, you hypnotized and you believe that there is a hole in this wall, and you see the reality. And at some and after because of the magic of the editing, in 2-3 minutes you think that you are the character and it's all your imagination and you like totally hypnotized. This is how traditional movie works. In Screenlife is different. In Screenlife, what you see on the screen, it's just screen. It's not the metaphor. It's not the illusion. It's a reality. It's a screen of the character, and you are not dreaming like in traditional movie. You're not dreaming that you are this guy, yeah, and you see this the set of images, cut of images, and you hypnotizing you. No, you see the screen of the character, and you see the behavior of the character on the screen, and you little by little, if the story is good, you are connecting to the character and you are following the story. And it's two very different big ideas. Either you're hypnotized or you're just observing, and you're so I'm sorry, I cannot, especially even in Russian, I cannot explain this, but I hope you will understand what I want to say. This is very different things. I mean, unfortunately, I never read any smart articles about it. I'm just sharing with you what I feel, but I hope someday you or your friends or you will help me to formulate it better in English. And this language, this new language, really contemporary because it's how we live, yeah, how we behave. It's much more impactful because it's easy to connect. Yeah, it's because it's reality. It has the same storytelling principles, yeah, rules. The same. You need to tell the story needs to be constructed properly. You need to connect to the character. You need to understand his goals and his fears, and then you need to follow his journey. Storytelling is the same as the ancient Greeks invented, whatever, created thousands of years ago. Hollywood and today Screenlife format. It's exactly the same rules. But interpretation is different. It's 21st century interpretation of this of storytelling mechanisms. The sound is very different. What I learned in traditional movies, when you see this, the picture on the screen in the theater, the sound, it looks like coming from the screen because story takes place on the screen. Yeah, somewhere in the window, or like here you see me and the sound coming from me. But because the character, your character, is behind the screen somewhere. Sometimes there is a Dolby Atmos, whatever effects, helping you to feel that you are part of this sound environment. But ideologically, it's coming through the window. But in Screenlife is different. And the profile, the movie I made, I just understood that in Screenlife, because you are front of the screen, front of the real screen, the sound should be around you because your character is it's yourself. And the sound, typing, and the somebody knocking on the door, it's not in the window, it's not behind the wall, it's behind you. You know what I mean? It's, you should try to understand what I'm you should try simple to make a simple test for you to understand how it works, but it's really, really different and interesting. uh, and and the whole process of creating Screenlife movie, it's kind of the same. uh, the same storytelling. You need to write the story, you need to cast your movie, and it's the same. You can do it online, like and it's even um, more effective to cast online. I will tell you why, because I was surprised when I made profile. I never met my actors because I was in Los Angeles and they were in London, and I just had a web conference with them, and it was good because I understood that my audience will never see them with a great quality Kodak, whatever, or whatever, Ariflex, whatever image. They will experience they will meet them through the web camera, and the magic you can get by meeting them in physical space will be just confusing, and it's more uh, um, uh, it's correct to meet them and cast them online. The same as the location scouting was online because there was a guy with a mobile phone showing me the spaces where the characters will be in the movie, and and I proved, and I never been there. And also, one interesting uh, thing happened with me making profile. The movie was shot in London, and one of the characters were in Soho. We were in Cockney, and the third guy was in the Middle East, in Syria, but according to the story. And they were chatting with each other. He was a terrorist, and I sent guy to, not to Syria. He was in Cyprus. I sent my actor to Cyprus, and we recorded real Skype between girl in Hockney, woman in Soho, in the studio, a newsroom, and the guy in the Middle East, almost in Middle East, in Cyprus. And this was done. Um, I just made an experiment to understand how the movie could be made in different locations at the same time, because he was playing soccer in the dusty street in Damascus, and she was in Hockney, and her boss was in a show, in a newsroom in Soho. And it was magic because I learned, for example, that the acting was very specific because there were delays. Like when you say something, and the person answering you with a delay, it really changes your acting method. I mean, feelings, because like even now I'm too loud, you feel I'm shouting because I don't feel your reaction, and I think I need to be louder to be understandable, which is probably a mistake because I can talk to you like that and you will still understand everything, and probably it'll be bit, but because I don't feel you, I'm screaming, shouting. And this is also part of the part of the discoveries. And if I will put headphones, and your sound will be on, and you will talk to me, then I will a little bit calm down, and will be less aggressive, let's say. Okay, I can talk about it forever, and there is a lot of things to talk, but I think it's better if we'll spend more time if you will ask questions, and I will try to answer. If we'll talk about it, you will talk. I don't know how much you know about how many movies you've seen, and I don't know if you have an experience to make it yourself, Screenlife content. Honestly, I'm not only person who's today. I'm not only person producing Screenlife content. We were just the one of the pioneers who began, but now it's every platform, every TV channel forced to make Screenlife content. We produced only, I don't know, part of it. Okay, if you don't mind, I prefer to answer your questions. If we can go this way, no?
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Timur. That was a really, really informative 45 minutes, and it was just scratching the surface of actually the possibilities and the history of the whole Screenlife journey. So the way that we should do this now is, if you have any questions, if you can raise your hand in this little chat box. There's a way of doing it, isn't there? So we're not all talking at the same time. Has anybody got any questions?
I've got one.
Yeah.
Okay, Ollie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, let's take a minute.
It might be a simple question. I wondered if there was anything that you wanted to do with Screenlife that you weren't able to translate into that format.
Not yet, I can tell you.
Awesome.
I didn't make an action movie yet, but I know how to make it.
Cool, thank you. That's
Action
encouraging.
Action movie when you will be on the edge of your seat, and it'll be action. It'll be real action, like Bruce Willis type of the emotions, but in Screenlife, I know how to make it.
Cool.
I have an idea.
Ryan?
Yeah, so how do you see Screenlife, that kind of format, fitting into traditional films? So I don't know if you saw Lion, I think that was 2016. That had, I think it was multiple chunks where Dev Patel was searching on like Google Maps trying to find it. So do you see Screenlife not only being its own distinct kind of genre or format in which to tell a story, but also fitting into more traditional kind of cinematic films? Yeah,
it's absolutely. There is no rules in the creative world. You can do whatever you want. I forced myself to limit to limit myself, but not using by not using the traditional camera, just to provoke myself and you guys to develop the unique language, because we know how to make traditional movies, and if you have a chance to go back in time and just do the same way as Charlie Chaplin did it, or I don't know, you will immediately reduce. Well, I mean, you immediately go back. But I forcing myself to say no. Let's just forget about cameras. Let's just try to tell stories in Screenlife in this format. It's absolutely, it's forced. It's not organic. It's just for me, it was just a way to provoke myself to think different.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit in Crazy Rich Asians where they're all texting, and and I think back when Sherlock first came out, people were debating how was best to represent essentially a screen, because it's inherently uncinematic to have a camera over someone's shoulder looking at a screen because it's very flat. But obviously, you're kind of trying to explore the kind of mise-en-scène of like a screen actually demonstrates a lot about a person, like you were showing before, like having stuff on the screen shows you're, organized or disorganized, that kind of thing, as well as what is going on there. So it's representing what's going on there in a more cinematic style, trying to plug in better to a traditional format, I guess.
Yeah, what I did, I just flipped the two different medias. Usually it was traditional filmmaking with the elements of Screenlife, like a typing or something, and it was physical space with the desktop, with the interfaces, and with the Screenlife as a part of the physical space, as a part of the physical reality. But I said to myself, because I spend more time in Screenlife world today and less time in physical space, I mean events happening in physical space, less important today, then why I need to shoot it? Maybe I need to record my screen with the web camera, with some images of the physical space, but secondary. Maybe it's more representative, it's more contemporary, and more like, for example, robbing bank. It's not happening in physical space anymore. Like, there is no people with the gun machines because there is nothing to steal. Robbing bank today, it's a hacking. It's a person. It's a screen of the hacker who is just going, like, cracking the code and just going somewhere, or cheating some old lady, stealing her data, whatever. And there is no reason to shoot on camera because there is nothing happening in physical space. Or dating, Romeo and Juliet. It's not balconies anymore. There is no, like, a person climbing on a balcony. There is a person typing, chatting, and sending messages with a smiley, whatever, GIFs, and we live differently. And my goal, and I hope your goal will be to understand better how we live today, and to express yourself using contemporary and relatable language.
Cool.
There's another couple of questions here, Timur, from Muz Khan. Would you like to?
I will do. Sorry, Joanne. I keep cutting you off. Hello, Timur. Very excited to be chatting to you, looking at your face, and doing this course. So I've seen quite a few Screenlife things. The way we shoot it then is via this Google Chrome extension. Is that correct? So that's how we are going to create the film, via the Google Chrome extension. Question number one.
No, first of all, you can record any using any software.
Yes.
You see, the Screenlife, it's my terminology. Screenlife is just recording screens. you can record with QuickTime record. You can record with I don't know, thousands of different recorders exist. Recording the screen, and then editing what you recorded. What we did, we just developed new recorder, allowing you to record screen as a code, not as video, because all other recorders recording screen as a video. We were the first who recorded screen as a code, which is we're recording not the video of your screen, but the programming code before video card, generating the video. I don't know how to explain better, and it helped us to make Screenlife content clickable and adaptable, because we recorded the code. We can record code. We can record elements of the screen with the properties, and then you can click on it. But it's a clickable interactive. It's Screenlife interactive. It's interactive, immersive Screenlife.
And in terms of, like, you know, say if you're on the screen and you're following the cursor and like the camera moves in and it goes there and it goes down there, how does all that sort of stuff, how does that happen?
By editor. No, you need to hire an editor, and he will zoom in and just pan. Do you see my screen now?
Yeah.
I will show you. First of all, I'll show you clickable. This is our platform called Screenlife.com. You can go there. You see this? I don't know if you see this, yeah? Screenlife.com.
Yeah.
And there is a videos, like, for example, you can click, it's like I'll show you the clickable screencast.
I see.
Produced by recorded by our recorder. I don't know how, it doesn't work when I'm, sorry, I cannot share in the Zoom. Please go yourself to go on recordscreenlife.com and click and watch it on this website, because I cannot do it through Zoom. When Zoom is on, I cannot do it. Let me try it on Safari. But
that's good. And my sort of follow-up question was, when you were getting the actor in Cyprus, who I'm guessing was Shazad. Was that Shazad?
Yes, Shazad. Yeah.
Cool. And the London actress, for them to film their scenes, did they film it on their iPhone and they emailed it to you? How does?
No. We were on Skype we were connected. He had all the secrets. What we did, we used his iPhone. He was on Skype with his partner, and at the same time we put a GoPro. I think it was GoPro, or it was another mobile phone flipped upside down, just to be as close as possible to the web camera of this. And we recorded in London what we got from Skype real, and we recorded the better quality image in case we will need it on the set. Do you understand me? It was a GoPro connected to the mobile phone, attached to mobile phone, and recorded backup if we will need better quality than we got.
Hi guys,
you
it's
see
Sophie,
it, yeah?
and today I'm going to show you a website that helped me learn English really fast and fun. This site is called badanamu.com.
It's a girl.
But this video is not going to be regular. It's going to be magical. Because right now on my screen with your mouse, you can click anywhere you want, like this. This is my mouse.
You see red?
It's red, and I'm doing like little circles with it. Do the same thing with your mouse.
What's my black mouse, you see?
Done? You got it, bro. Okay, let's have a look at this site. So Badanamu is a website that has these little characters, cute animals, that help you learn English. They make really fun videos, and they actually make dance videos. Like, for example, this one, Ponytail.
You see, she's clicking. Yeah?
Let's have a look at it. They dance with it, like the characters in there. Oh, sorry, it's really loud. There we go.
But
so the
but now you see my black mouse, yeah?
And they teach you
With my
how
black
to say
mouse,
ponytail. What is it?
I can click too. You see, I can click. You see what I did?
Yeah.
You see? Wait a second, stop please. Okay, you see what I did? I stopped her and I can click also to any video, you see? Any
Yeah.
it means I created clickable screencast.
Oh. Good.
Okay.
So I think over the course, over the coming weeks, what the plan is for us to cover most of the secrets and start to explore different ways of filming and using the Screenlife technology, because there's a whole, again, like that when it was first invented or first put together, there's been a number of different ways of using that clickable screen within your ideas for film, but we will cover them in the workshops over the coming weeks. So there's a couple of more questions here for you, Timur. There's one from Tom Shannon. Tom, would you like to go, or do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, no, I can read it out. That's good. Hi, Timur.
Okay.
So I was interested. It's interesting you're saying, we're living a lot of our life on screens, and so that's what you're sort of choosing to dramatize. But it made me think, I don't just live my life on one screen. I have many, many screens that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. The laptop I'm on now, my phone, smart TVs, tablets. And also you can be on 2 of these at the same time. Do you have like a philosophy that underpins what you should show? And then follow up to that, do you just choose, or do you go for a laptop because it's closer to the aspect ratio of cinema and that's the screen you're showing it on?
My philosophy is very simple. You free to choose whatever you want and what you want, how you want to tell the story. I don't have any. I don't know. When we made a searching, Anish Shaganti, who was the director of the movie, he said, because before I had a theory that Screenlife movie should be real time, no editing. It should. You don't see the editing. It should be just a one real-time process with experiencing the like a behavior of the character. But he said, no, I want to make it more like a cinematic zooms and music soundtrack. And I said, okay, it's your choice. I don't mind. I don't think Screenlife has a rules you cannot break, except one. It should be, for me, it should be about your screen life. It should be your behavior on screen. This is what I call Screenlife, and how you will edit it. 5 screens or 1 screen, or you need to switch from screen one character to the screen another character, or you will stay on mobile phone. It's a different people has a different ideas, and I'm okay to accept any new and fresh.
Can I just quickly follow up? Are there any more technical challenges that come from going on mobile phone versus laptop then, for example? Because you've shown us some desktop tools.
No, of course, a mobile phone screen is very different, and unfortunately, we cannot record clickable iPhone, because iPhone not allowing you to record except its own. There is its own application, its own button here on iPhone. Yeah, you can record by pushing this button, but it will be Apple file. But I don't know. Do you know what? I'm sure you will discover a lot of questions, problems, and you need to find an answer. And I cannot really give you answer on any question. I can say what I will do, but does not mean that you must do the same. You can try find your own solution. But I'm sure what's good about this language, it's a lot of limitations. It's a lot of ideas you need to invent to tell simple story. In traditional movies, we've seen thousands of movies. We know how to do zoom in, close up, detail, or voiceover. In Screenlife, you need to start from scratch, inventing this language. Just few movies we made, or some other people, and that's it. This whole background we have now, and it's great because you need to invent your own ideas.
Yeah, I suppose that's what's really, really interesting about doing this course and where we are right now. One of the things that really drives me with the conversations I have with Timur is, firstly, there are no rules. And secondly, it's just waiting for the next Lumiere moment. I think that's my favorite line that you've come out with in the last couple of years. It's like there is an opportunity to be at the forefront of something brand new, whatever it is that you produce or you come up with over the next 12 weeks could be the first time that it's ever been done. So there's another one, Andrew Smith.
Yeah. Hi, Timur, pleased to meet you. And the question is, when you see these characters in these narratives used on everyday applications like YouTube, Zoom, social media accounts, are they being generated in post to avoid kind of copyright implications against them companies?
Excuse me, sorry, I need to jump on another call, and if you don't mind, I can come back in 15 minutes. So
that would be great. I think what we could do, because we've got a 15-minute break, which is scheduled for a bit later on. But Timur, if you go for 15 minutes and come back, we can just have a little recap on where we've just been with you for the last hour.
Great.
Okay, see you soon. So for those who've put your questions in, I'll wait until Timur comes back. I'm just trying to find myself on the screen. Oh, there I am there. So I'll wait until Timur comes back, but it's great to take the next 15 minutes just to have a little recap on the plan for what we would like to do over the next 12 weeks. Now, Martin touched on a number of things earlier, but I think for me, what I'd like to talk about is just the opportunities that could come from actually being a part of this course. I mean, of course, I work with Timur, and I'm the director of operations for Screenlife Liverpool. So of course, I'm going to be really excited about it because I know it very well. But the questions that were coming through there were all questions that would fit within a rule book. And the beauty of where we are with this is there is no rule book, so you can tell your story however you want and through whatever screen you want. It's just that first person concept, which is a different way of writing, because normally when we write with the you set the scene, your scene is set, you establish your shot through, or you establish your scene through your first shot. It's a different way of telling a story here. So I'm dead excited about it. And Martin, do you wanna come back in?
Yeah, sure. So what we're going to do, what we're going to look at in a moment, is begin to organise our thoughts around how we might tell a story in a Screenlife way, and how to pitch that. And that's really where we want to get to. the next couple of weeks. What Timur's kind of introduced us there to a way of thinking about how to use the everyday screens that surround us, that we're totally imbued with now, as the way not just of telling the story, but of making the story as well. And I think one of the important points about what he was saying there was the way in which this dramatically reduces the cost and the number of people you need to make great content, right? And how this fundamentally disrupts a relationship with studio production, for example, and the way in which you would pitch material or pitch an idea to a studio and then go and raise funds to make that and so on. This is a completely different way of thinking about generating your own content and telling your own stories. You ought to be able to do it in a way that ought to be accessible, you know, to everyone. But at the same time, saying that, when we talk about this thing, Screenlife, what we're talking about, yes, there's lots of films in production at the moment, but there's only a handful of films out there that we might call Screenlife. So there's no hard and fast rules about how we're going to do any of this. And I think one of the things that will come out over the 12 weeks as we go through your ideas for filmmaking, your ideas for stories, is we begin to raise all the kinds of questions that are coming up in that Q&A, and also beginning to work together on solutions for some of these problems, solutions that haven't been thought of before, doing things in a different way, because that's the material that you've got to hand, that's the story that you want to tell, and this is the best way to do it, right? So I think what we've tried to do in putting the program together in the next 12 weeks is to take you through some of the aspects of that, or some of the aspects that we've identified as important in the Screenlife process. And of course, we want feedback from you all throughout the process, saying, actually, we'd like to talk about this thing. Maybe we could have another session on this. Could we hear from this person again, and so on. So would it be helpful to put the schedule up again and just go through that for what we're doing in the next few weeks?
Yeah. Do you want me to do that, or have you got it? Is it?
I should have it from. Where's it going? I had it before.
Is it the team one that you've got up? Oh, it's got the webinar, that the webinars in it.
No, wait a minute. That is course structure. That's the one I want. Yeah, right. Okay, that's us. Share. Right. So this is the schedule that was sent out at the end of last week. Did everybody get that material? If not, you just drop us an email or drop us a note in the chat, or send a note to Karen, and we'll make sure you get that. You should have had the accelerator course structure over the next 12 weeks. You should have had a course handbook with it as well, and also the Screenlife Bible, so-called Screenlife Bible, but that's it's a large PDF on notes on making Screenlife films. So in the next couple of weeks, we've got some people from Basilev's studios in the next few sessions. Next session by Ivan is on directing for Screenlife and answering some of these questions around cameras, recording of the content, vertical versus horizontal, and so on. The third session by Maria is on production of a Screenlife film, and every week we'll have someone either from Basilev's in Moscow or Basilev's in Los Angeles for that first half of too far beyond Madge in week 4, because people's timetables are a little bit flexible at the moment. But every week we'll have one of these sessions, and we'll go through producing, screenwriting, issues of post-production, issues of sound, issues of budgets, and so on. But where we also want to get to in week 3 is about pitching your own ideas. Right, so we want you to be thinking about that just now. Joe, do you want to say something about that, where we're going to get to? Because it'll come upon us quite quickly.
Yeah, so the idea is that with all of the learning, so we've got the webinars structured for the first hour of every course, every session, and then the second half of the session will be about putting our learning into practice. And the reason why we want to do that is because what we would like is for all of the participants, and this isn't mandatory, because I know that this is an awful lot of work and it's a great big ask, but what we've managed to do is secure a small budget to be able to produce proof of concepts for ideas that we could maybe develop for that could be good for development. So today Nick is gonna talk to us about pitching, creating a successful pitch. By week 3, when Maria comes in to do her webinar, what I would like is to pitch some ideas to Maria. Maybe Timur will come back in week 3 as well. I haven't spoke to him yet, but I think he might do. He usually will do if he isn't busy. But there is an awful lot going on at the moment. So if Timur's not busy, Timur and Maria will come back in week 3, and they will listen to the pitches, that your ideas that you want to put forward. And then we'll have a conversation about which ideas could be key for commercial development. And then we will form production groups, and we'll actually put together a number of proof of concepts. Only if you have time. It's not mandatory, but it would be great for you to be able to actually think about putting some of this learning into practice. Because I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I find nothing more tedious than listening and not being able to do hands-on stuff. And most of the people in this room are filmmakers. I think all of the people in this chat are filmmakers, so I'm sure you're pretty much the same as me when it comes to developing that establishing shot. How are we going to do that? How can we do it? And if you've never done it before, then actually starting to think in ways like that, establishing that shot. How do you write for it? We'll listen for an hour, and then we'll start to put that learning into practice. So week 3, if you have any ideas that you think could work for a Screenlife production, then pitch it. And then we'll form production teams and we'll make them, so all of the what's the best format to use, whether it be your laptop or your phone. We'll think about that when we're producing a small proof of concept. So if after Nick Connor's presentation, I think what we want to finish this session on is for you to go away and start thinking about what you would like to make, or what skill you would like to develop over the process of the next 12 weeks. So yeah, I think that's it.
Right, okay. Has anybody got any questions about the course, or about registration, or any of that housekeeping stuff?
Pop-art. Is it pop-art? Is that the right way of saying it? You need to unmute.
Is he still there? He was there a moment
ago. He's there. He's just muted.
Hi, Martin. How you doing? Hi. Hi, Joanne. Hi, everyone else.
Hi.
Nice to meet everyone virtually, actually.
Is that you, Dove? Is it you?
That's Dove, yes. But my colleague, Popeye, is beside me, but he doesn't like...
right, no, because I was thinking, it was actually an accent.
No. It's two of us together, Joanne. But my friend...
Great. Okay, lovely.
So it's just a quick question, and yes. Firstly, thank you for putting this this project together, guys. It's very insightful, and we're really excited to be part of it as well. It's just a quick question about proof of concept, Joanne and Martin. How do we present that? Do we send that to you in a private message, or is that something that we, over the next 3 weeks, we present to the group? How does that work in terms of presenting our idea?
Yeah, so the idea was for it to be presented to the group, and then for the group, for either Maria and Timur will have a listen, and then we'll explore the commercial opportunities with it, maybe, and then members of the group can either join your production team, or if let's say, for example, we have 30 pictures and 10 of them are really, really good pictures, then we'll probably make small production groups, or we can make a decision as a group to say, I think we should make 3 pictures and have 10 people. So that the point of the pitch is and the production is about getting hands-on experience. Again, it's not mandatory, and there is a very, if you pitch something and it does have the, if there is a possibility that it will be successful commercially, then we'll have a conversation with Basilevs and say if they'd be interested in helping you develop it.
Fabulous. That's well answered, Miss Joanne. Thank you so much.
I'll just add to that, say so once we get to the break, when we're coming back, Nick Connor, who's here. Nick, are you there? Where's Nick?
I'm here.
There's Nick. So Nick, when we did a kind of version of this, a short version of this with Timur and the BFI during the summer, Nick was one of the people who pitched an idea at that time, and that's been in development with Screenlife UK since the summer. So next, in the second half, Nick's going to take us through his experience of that, and we'll get into some more detail about how to actually do the pitch itself.
That's fabulous.
Which I think we're aiming for week 3, right? So now's the time to kind of marshal your thoughts, think about how the story you want to tell, and how you might tell it as a Screenlife story.
I think we've got a question from Ollie Martin, by the way.
Hello. I just wondered how many productions we'll be doing based on the pictures. How many we'll actually choose to do, and what the scale of them will be. Are we talking about shorts? Is there a variation on what we'll be able to produce?
Yeah, I think there will. I mean, what we need to be is realistic in terms of the possibilities with the small budget that we have. So I mean, I'm guessing if everybody pitches, let's just a scenario where everyone pitches and everyone's got a great pitch, then I need to have a conversation with Maria and Timur about, whether we can find a way of finding more development money to do all the pitches. But I think realistically, what we need to be doing as a group, because the point of the course is more about upskilling your traditional filmmaking skills, right? So I think 3 is probably realistic in terms of, I mean, they could, depending on whether we've got some great editors in the room, great producers in the room, great film, DOPs in the room, which I'm guessing we probably have. We just need to play it in that way. I think probably 3 with the small budget. However, if we go, we could do one of the pitches for you know, a couple of £100, then let's do that. You know, so there's no set rule to how we're going to do it, because I don't know what the pitches are going to be like that come through. So I think what we need to do is have a listen to everybody's pitch and then think about how we can develop them.
Joanne.
Yeah.
So potentially, could you pitch a trailer for a bigger project, or pitch a short segment which was complete in itself, but was the introduction to a bigger feature length idea that one might have, you know?
I think at the moment, because there's so many opportunities, what Timur didn't tell you there was that we have an opportunity to pitch for 5 Universal films are slated. So he talked about Ice Cube and Eva Longoria, didn't he? That's one of the Universal films that will be made from the Universal pitch, from the Universal slate. Then there's another slate of opportunities attached to Snapchat. So Snapchat, although it's a different format and it's a different platform, is the equivalent of high-end TV drama, because they're just these small mini series, you know, so short form content, 6 minutes long, which will last 45 minutes in total, could end up with like 100 million, an audience of 100 million. So it depends. A proof of concept, Andrew, I would suggest is a feature at the end of it. So you'd come up with a short form of your feature, and you develop that concept to prove that it's workable as a feature film.
Got you. Cheers.
Was there someone else who raised the hand then? Ryan, do you, or is your hand still up from before? He's gone.
No, it was just in relation to the length of what we're going to be doing, the proof of concept. How long would you be aiming at, do you think?
I think between, it's funny, Nick, because when Nick first pitched his, I think we had about 6 minutes, didn't we? We were thinking about 6 minutes, and it's gone to 15 minutes. And then because his is more of an immersive and interactive piece of proof of concept, then that 15 minutes is actually 45 minutes worth of script. So it did start off with a very small, you know, with a small number. I'd say a proof of concept between 6 minutes, between 15 minutes. It could be 3 minutes. What we're doing is proving the concept will work on different platforms.
Sure. Okay.
Is there anybody? Oh, there's a couple of. Is there any? See, it's a little bit confusing with this chat, and I can only get like 20 people on each screen. Has anybody else got any questions? Or any suggestions or any feedback on how the course is gonna, we're planning for the course to run? Can I ask a question then? Seems as nobody else has got a question. In terms of the way that we have structured the course to be 3 hours online learning now, and then there's supposed to be 3 hours self-guided study time, which would include watching films, reading the Bible, coming up with little concepts, or having a little play on, you know, producing what you've learned the week before. Is that too much or too little?
That's 3 hours a week.
It's 3 hours a week, yeah.
Outside of that.
So we do the 3 hours here together, and then there's an expectation, which isn't mandatory, of course, because we're all adults, so we know how to you know, plan our own learning. The expectation was that too much or too little?
It's all down. It's
about right to me.
It's personal, isn't it, Joe? But for me, it's a lot. Like, there's a lot going on at the moment, and 3 hours in one physical space at a certain time over 12 weeks is a lot. Is a big commitment. You know?
Who said that? Actually, we're not.
Colin.
Oh, are you, Col? Yeah, I'm good. So the way that we're choosing to do it, Col, is to break it down. Now it's worked a little bit differently this week because Timur said he was going to come back. I was expecting him to be gone already from now, and then we'd have done the Q&A, and then we'd have the 15 minutes, and then we'd have another more practical based learning half hour, and then 30-minute breakout rooms where you'd be in the different production groups. So we were thinking about 10 people in each breakout room to have a conversation about, you know, the evening's learning. So it won't be just sitting here and doing this like we are now. So what can I suggest that when we get to week 3, well, actually we won't be able to do it in week 3, but there's one of our the Screenlife team, Riane, she's going to send out something on Wednesday for some feedback about how this is working for everybody. If you could respond to Riane, because we want it to be as comfortable, and we want it to be a mix of everything. I personally prefer practical learning, but I love listening to people talk as well. So Riane will be in touch with you over the next couple of weeks, just to keep an eye on how, you know, how things are working for you. And because it's the first cohort, we'd really appreciate you just letting us know whether it's working, whether it's not working, if it's too much, if it's too little, what we could do to help or support you get through it.
Nice one.
Okay, I'm not sure if Timur's going to be joining us this side of the break now. It's past, and I'm conscious that we really should stick to the schedule because people will have home life and family commitments and things. So I don't want to go much over 8 when we get there. So shall we take a break now for 15 minutes? Just put your cameras off, put yourselves on pause, and come back at 6:45, and we'll start with Nick on the other side. Okay.
Thanks.
Right. Great. See you all then.
I haven't all. I know where they are. Oh.
Glass of something more interesting this time of night. We're getting there. We're getting there. So we've had Timur in the first half introduced to some of the principles of Screenlife, but as Joe said, he's really only scratched the surface, really just given us a quick sketch of the sorts of things that are possible within Screenlife. And I think there's a piece of self-guided learning, as it's called, at the end, but a piece of homework at the end, which we'll talk about a bit later on. But I think one of the other things that people can do if they haven't already done it is have a look at some of the Screenlife films that are listed in the handbook. They are all available on Netflix, I think. No, Buzz?
No, we've got searchings on there, and
Right.
Unfriended is on there. Unfriended Dark Web isn't there.
Okay.
And The Love in Isolation is on YouTube, which is YouTube. Yeah, because I was trying to find Dark Web and I couldn't find it. I tried to find Profile because they shot it 2 years ago, but as Timur said, I think that'll get released this year.
Yeah, Profile's not been released yet. That's right. Yeah.
Which is quite exciting.
Dark Web's available for rent, £2.49, I think it is, with Amazon, I think it was.
Yeah, okay. Great.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's helpful, Chris. Thanks. Okay, so that's one of the, if you haven't already done that, do have a look at some Screenlife films. At some point in the next 12 weeks, I'll be talking about some of those films as well in one of the sessions. Right. So what we want to do next is I'm going to give the floor over, or the screen over, as it were, to Nick, who's going to take us through his experiences of creating a pitch for Screenlife and talk about his own project. And let's begin by tell us a little bit about yourself.
Great. So,
Nick.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, all good.
Brilliant. So, hi, my name's Nick Connor, and I'm a writer and director by trade. I'm from quite a traditional filmmaking background, and over the last 6 or so months, I've been involved with Screenlife UK, developing a project alongside Joanne, Timur and Maria at Basilev's, starting with the pitch alongside the BFI to make the short film initially, and then fleshing out that idea with Screenlife and Basilev's teams. I wasn't part of the accelerator course, but so there's a lot for me to learn still, but hopefully it'll be a great 12 weeks. It's been an incredible experience getting to grips with the new format, the new cinematic language, whatever you best describe this new art form, really. My journey with Screenlife has been really adventurous. I think it's really freeing to someone from that type of traditional background. So hopefully I can walk you through some of the ways I tried to sell my idea of a Screenlife film, where I succeeded, maybe where I failed a bit, and discuss some of the differences between how you may pitch a more traditional film and something like a Screenlife film. I'm aware many of you will know how to pitch, but I'm going to try and cover all bases. And I know a lot of yourself, you'll have pitched before, but I'll try and cover the different levels. As Timur said, there's no rules, so ignore me and filter. But hopefully I can talk about my experience on both ends of the pitching table, and we can guide through it. So what is the key to a good pitch pack in Screenlife? Well, it seems obvious to say, but making sure there's a balance between the creative side and the business side is really key. While Screenlife is still a new space for experimentation and a place where you can turn your back almost on a lot of the lessons we learn in traditional filmmaking, it's still a commercial entity. So striking that balance is really the key. So, as with any act of commerce, then it's worth considering pain points. This is something that might not seem relevant. It's more of a marketing term than a business term, than a film business term. But I think when it comes to the modern world, I think discovering the specific problems, fears, desires of audiences and consumers in general is important. And how do films help to fulfill or fill in puzzle pieces for those pain points? So going by that idea, if audiences ask questions to the world and artists try to answer them, so this means selling our films through those pain points. But why do I mention this specifically in Screenlife? The key is we're all asking, what is the rule book of the online world? We were granted the free will by Tim Berners-Lee to do as we please with the internet, the democratization of information, what have you. But we weren't told the parameters, the guides. We were left to work it out by ourselves. And decades later, we're still looking at our digital devices kind of attached to our wombs, still asking the moral questions of the city we call the internet. And that's causing a lot of emotional turmoil, questions to be asked, pain points, privacy, lack of human connection in the physical world, safety, data, information, fake news, we all know them. So if we as filmmakers can help to tackle those pain points and discuss them through Screenlife, then that's kind of our jobs as filmmakers in many ways. We can't edit and undo everything we do online. The repercussions are huge and ever expanding. So as films and filmmakers, we're asking, what does that mean to the world today, our culture, our communication? So what are the fears of the online world? So it might be a good starting point if you've got some ideas or you're trying to come up with an idea within Screenlife. A starting point for me is, what are your fears of the online world? What do you love about it? What are you skeptical about? We're challenging audiences to think. That's the beating heart of a Screenlife film in many ways, and that tackles the moral questions and pain points. So it's a safe place for audiences to explore those things in didactic and entertaining ways without it feeling like a TED talk talking about why the internet is bad for us. So here's a rough guide. As you probably all know this. This is how I personally go about structuring my pitches. If you haven't pitched before, feel free to screenshot, but it's just a rough template. You can switch it around, goes, it might not all be relevant to your particular story that you decide to go with for your pitch. So here's the pitch that I proposed to Screenlife and Basilevs for my film Psychomachia. It's not extravagant or necessarily incredibly designed, but it tries to incorporate what makes Screenlife and how this film tonally brings something new within it. I tried my best to kind of find a balance between visual identity with the detail of what a film could be. I had around 7 days, which I think it's a shorter, is it 2 weeks or 1 week that you have left for the pitch? But I spent every waking moment on it, and I'm not a designer. You'll do far better than this than me, I'm sure. But it did the job. You may decide that you don't want to go overboard with the design. It's not for everyone. But in attempting to visually demonstrate your vision in some way, I believe really helps say things that you can't say in words. It's definitely more 95% story and substance rather than design, but it is kinder on the eyes. I think hopefully you'd agree. But here are some other examples that might inspire you. This is one for Adventure Time, worlds apart from my pitch, but it really demonstrates the tone of that specific piece. Here's Stranger Things under its original working title, more of a scrapbook, adventure diary-esque, but it's quite formal. And finally, Greg's Anatomy, which to me looks like an essay, but once again, it did a great job. But hopefully, with what we're discussing today, in the same way that Screenlife is new, it doesn't have rule books, and we're kind of looking back on the old laws of filmmaking, your pitch doesn't have to be so formal. It can be innovative, and you can do something outlandish. It might even be cool to do something in the Google Chrome extension that Timur was showing earlier. So here's where a Screenlife pitch is similar to a traditional pitch. At its heart, it's your first shot at showing you can tell a good story, but through a PDF. If it helps and you find yourself getting a bit lost, consider looking at this like a trailer. This is your story, your protagonist, the tone, the world it exists in, who's inside it, and who's making the film itself. Establish those things in the same way you would a film once it's complete, and you're selling it directly to audiences. I think that's the key to selling it to the Screenlife team. I guess at its heart is, who are you? Why your story matters, why it should be made, and why it's unique. It seems quite obvious to say, but I find it's commonly left in the dark a bit amongst the clutter of some pitches. Stating the characters' wants in a clear way, the obstacles they face, and the beats of the story as they try to overcome them should be at the center beyond the central premise. Screenlife films don't differ in any sense to any other story, in that you kind of have the writing motto: maximum desire, minimum chances of the protagonist winning that desire. And once this is all down, if you find it's 20 pages long, like I found it, it might be a cool exercise to do, is just to tell your story verbally, walking around the room in a minute, then try it in 30 seconds, then try it in 10, and you'll have your log line and synopsis really knocked down. So here's how it differs. I think a challenge some filmmakers face is trying to show that their film, that the pitching should be told in Screenlife, and it has to be. Why are you telling this story within this specific language? So clear understanding of what Screenlife is obviously key. There's loads of resources, talks, masterclass online. So make sure you have an idea of what is unique to Screenlife. And also research the other projects. My first idea was way too similar to another. You might find there's already been one. But make sure that when you're looking at it, you're not looking at like found footage or CCTV cameras. I think sometimes there's a big distinction there that needs to be made, that Screenlife is a new thing that is slightly different from that. In many ways, it should be easy. Most of us use our phones, desktops, laptops constantly, but demonstrating that on film can sometimes feel a difficult feat. When we're so used to the realms of standardized filmmaking with a typical crew, a typical cast, so throwing that mindset away can be hard. Your locations are now websites, actions are cursor movements and what the character does within their own environment. And a lot of the challenges the characters face are obstacles limited by the tools of their hardware and the software of the device's interface. But that's exactly it. See the device as the character's tool, ultimately, their world. This device is their POV. We're peeking into their inner lives in a way we can't do in a lot of type of cinema. Their goals may be clearly visible in text. Their Machiavellian nature or personality is shown in how they connect with others digitally. We get a true sense of who they are by what they do, unfiltered. but in many senses, the fact that their actions drive character is no different to traditional filmmaking. So if you understand that rule book, you just need to bring your experience of the online world and your understanding of the traditional filmmaking to the table. If you answer some of the questions on this list here, you should have checked off most of the things that you need to incorporate within that Screenlife pitch. You want to probably say, what websites do you use? What devices is the character using? Does this story take place in a continuous take, or is it jumbled and skipped in time? I mean, Profile is a great example. Hopefully when that's released, it shows that you can jump forward in many different structurally non-linear or linear ways. So feel free to experiment with that. Remember, the key question is the moral feats we face online. So what is the key to bringing out Screenlife within your pitch? Firstly, show your knowledge of Screenlife and films within the genre. Then where possible, show where you want to innovate in new ways. Say what you want to bring new to this platform. As Joanne often states, I think this is a great quote, it's easy to innovate where very few have been before. I think that's very true. We're all at this forefront of helping change the face of storytelling within a new world of film as kind of an early adopter or creative within it. So dreaming digitally is kind of the way forward. And you don't have to feel limited by the traditional filmmaking world that we've seen before. One challenge we found in the film that I'm writing is bringing that scale to it, but you really can, because the world's your oyster with Screenlife, you can literally go anywhere on Google Maps. So I think scale's really key too. I think a key point that you can say here is also demonstrating how it would work as a short and as a feature film. I think that's key, especially from the commercial aspect. Talk a little bit about your demographics. You know, Screenlife is so broad in who it can attract. It's not just younger audiences, but having a key eye on that's really a really good idea. Now I spend hours on this, and I'm always up at 3 AM in a lucid mindset, finding the right title, and you can plow days into this, and often it comes at the most random moment, but it's worth spending time on. The title is the first thing that spikes interest, capturing the reader, capturing the imagination of what that word could mean. I personally think of creating meaning in semantics and symbolism, all that stuff, cryptic title. So we went with Psychomachia, which was kind of War for the Soul, which just demonstrated something about the character, the world that the film was within, and the culture of the time. So have a think about that. Obviously, it's a working title. Searching was search, unfriended was cybernatural. So there's a chance for it to evolve. And if you struggle, I always walk around the house asking me the question of, have you seen insert title, Psychomachia? Does it sound all right? And that's how I test mine. This is one of my favorite things to do in a pitch. Give the reader similar titles to yours that have been successful to show that your film can be successful too. The old, if you like this, then you'll like this. It's X film meets X film. For instance, Joker's, you know, Batman versus, you know, 1970s Scorsese. So yeah, I think that's a good way of demonstrating the commercial aspect. And hopefully it shows your vision of how this film can work with titles that might not necessarily be Screenlife, because ultimately a lot of these titles could be great Screenlife films. This is an additional note. It may just elevate the business side, incorporating snippets of market research, stats, box office, viewing numbers of those films. You know, for instance, my interactive side of my film, I wanted to show that Bandersnatch had been successful to elevate how I thought my audience of this specific film could be large. So that might be something you want to do. Now, design. Here's a good way to approach your design if you get stuck. Imagine a poster, or imagine the tone of the trailer. How does it look? You know, how does the design look like in your mind? Your pitch should kind of feel like a film or a trailer in that sense. If it feels formal, so should your doc, and if it's horror, so should your doc. It's the obvious things. I I think it's difficult sometimes to choose between landscape and portrait, but I tend to go portrait just because you can get more text on it, and I like writing. I use Keynote and things like that, but you all know the best platforms for those for yourself. I also think the more effort you show that you put in the design, the more likely it is that you'll attract the reader. If it shows capability and all that. And remember, this is all about our lives in the digital world, so it's worth incorporating that within your pitch. This being an example, within that design, in my pitch, I did sections as if I was texting the reader. It was a bit of a one-sided conversation, just me talking to them, selling my idea, kind of just saying, I understand what Screenlife is. Through this, it's just a good way to grab Screenlife within there. These are the kind of things that we can expect viewers to see. For instance, I have a hacked tweet from the civil service here, which just demonstrates what the viewer might see within the film. If you can get snippets like that, it just helps demonstrate things you can't say in words. Here's another example of some of the things I did just to give a greater sense of the world. Just, I think, visually, if you can establish that feel, I think that's the key to the design. This, of course, means ripping from online, stealing, copying and pasting images, but also doctoring them. I found myself chroma keying, instant alphaing and all that stuff, layering backgrounds for hours. I think it's difficult because when you copy these images, you place them in, it can look really unoriginal. So I think just playing and experimenting with that and using your knowledge of tech within Screenlife, you can really make something quite original with that. I'm going to skim this slide. You already know it. Play with font. I'm just putting this here as a bit of a thing. If you struggle to find fonts, defont.com, free, safe. There's loads more, and you can find some great fonts on there that might suit your title. So just to demonstrate the kind of minutiae of trying to overcome the limits of the internet, sometimes I find the internet's causing so many issues with my pitch because I'm copying and pasting, it's not quite working. But hopefully this demonstrates what I did to try and overcome that. A short video here. Oh, if it plays, it does. There's no sound anyway. Anyway, that just demonstrates, I guess, how you can overcome those barriers if you do face them. I use an awful lot of clip art. It's terrible, but you might find it useful. Now sell yourself. It's my least favorite thing to do. I'm awful at it, but sadly it's key. So don't hold back or see it as ego. Mentor experience, provide links, agent information if you have it, IMDb pages. But also don't panic. You know, if you feel like you don't want to demonstrate your experience, just put everything on the page. And I guess it's just a nice way of saying, this is who I am. Because ultimately, I guess the person on the other end just wants to get to know you. Here's somewhere where I almost tripped up. I did. I really didn't plan out my time over that week of pitching. As I've told you how many times, I worked through the night just trying to get it right. This is just a little note because it messed me up and my mojo quite a bit. Schedule out your time. Here's a guide I wish I'd used. I wish someone had been yelling in my ear. Put story before design on this and X, Y, Z. I know it worked out in the end, but dedicating that time to story over anything, I think, is really key, as you all know, probably. So here are a couple of tips to fill in the gaps of what we covered here. Of course, get passionate about your idea. It makes the rest easier. be inventive within your pitch and have a clear vision and show it. While doing that, make us fall in love with your characters or hate. Also, show how you want to innovate within the future of screen life and filmmaking in general. This is about the future of filmmaking, not the past. So also make sure to distinguish your 3 acts. Make sure it's the beginning, middle, and end is so clear. I think that some bad pitches is just when you can see there's no through line and it's just there's no beginning, middle, and end in sight. So I think if you can distinguish those, that's always a great thing. What I found really helpful is to get a friend's eyes on it, one who wasn't in film, one who was, show them the synopsis, and often you just find the gaps in what you're explaining where you've realized, oh, this made sense to me, but it didn't to someone else. You know, feel free to send it to the people in the group or whatever works for you. It definitely helps spot things that you might have missed. Also, understanding your budget. Now, I know that we're not set with a particular budget just yet, but dream big while realizing the potential limitations and how you might overcome them with creative ideas within Screenlife. One thing that I've just mentioned at the bottom here, if you want to go the extra mile, a video pitch may be a good way of doing it. If you don't like the traditional way, you know, Taika Waititi's sizzle reel for Thor Ragnarok being a really good example of what got him the job. And if that's more your way, that might be a more interesting way of doing it through Screenlife. Almost done. Don't let your pitch be the McDonald's hamburger. Now, what do I mean by that? And I'm stealing this. It's completely stolen. Here's a quote from Aaron Sorkin that explains what I mean. There's a zillion different ways to prepare beef. You have fillet, you have beef Wellington or flank steak, anything. But if you were to prepare the beef the way fewest people found objectionable, it would be a McDonald's hamburger every single time. I love McDonald's hamburgers. I eat them way too much. But if I were a chef, I wouldn't want to make a McDonald's hamburger. Screenlife is all about telling new stories in inventive and relatable ways to the modern world. We can therefore tell new stories that haven't been told before, that aren't the typical Hollywood McDonald's hamburger films. So don't feel trapped by the mechanics of films that have come before. They were churned out just like McDonald's hamburgers. They're fine, but they're all the same. Be something and be unique. So after saying, don't make McDonald's hamburgers, which I love, here are the key takeaways for your pitch. Tell a great story. Find an amazing title. Mix your creative and business mind with balance. Don't do 100 pages, but don't do a few lines. Get creative visually with your design if you can. Show your film can be successful to a mass audience and let your personality come across on screen. More than anything, remember, this is Screenlife. At every turn, try to assure that it stays on track. I have a post-it note here whenever I'm writing or when I've done a pitch with Screenlife to remind myself to throw away the old beliefs I have. Just keep trying to remind yourself that, and you'll find yourself not feeling as limited. I think is that everything? No. But you may find that there's a new way of pitching. Feel free to ignore everything I've said today. There's no right or wrong. But this is what Screenlife needs: new voices telling stories to the new, ever-evolving industry in innovative ways. So go beyond what I've said. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's much easier to pull off sometimes than said, but it's a new space for filmmaking. So think out of the box, and I hope you do well with your pitches. And welcome to a new wave of filmmaking where the tide crashing in is us, the early adopters, which sounded great when I'd written it, but it's awful and overly saccharine. But that's it. But thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much for Nick. That's great. You get a round of applause if he
Oh,
wasn't.
great. I didn't get to hear him. So nervous. So thank you for the clap. I can have my tea now.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Nick. Do you want to take some questions for Nick? People got thoughts, responses to that. Yeah, there's a couple of hands up. Ryan, I think you were first up. Then I've got Liam. Then I've got Andrew after that. So, Ryan.
Yeah, sure. You were saying about kind of limiting the issues to the digital world, if that makes sense. So you were saying about what are people's concerns with the digital, with stuff online. Obviously, you're also saying about not having any rules with what you're doing. But how much would you say, from your experience, should be constrained to what's happening online? Because nowadays, because of how much time people spend on their devices, the online is kind of an extension of the real world. So people will search stuff that's related to, you know, ailments that they have, but that gives you a bigger insight into them as a character. Does that make sense? So there are things they might be concerned with in the real world that then you can express online via that format.
Absolutely. I think my pitch was all about the external world in that sense. So I think you're completely right. I think it's not just limiting yourself to those fears. I think it's just maybe those moral questions of how the character acts upon what is happening in the external world. I guess Unfriended being an example of that was the external world, and the characters were using Screenlife and their online devices as ways to try and combat that, to communicate. And those moral questions were interweaved. As I say, there's no rules, so I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah, totally. I mean, it's just up to interpretation, but to me, it kind of feels like the difference between, I guess, a novel versus a film, in the sense that a novel often has an interior monologue, as well as something like Peep Show, you know, a TV series like Peep Show, where you have the internal monologue, but it's never expressed apart from through actions in a film or a TV show. Whereas doing stuff here, and that's why I mentioned Lion before, because it was interesting how people would put themselves across in one way to one person as they would in a film, but then when they're online and when they're searching, say, for something, their actual thoughts are made clear and made more evident, perhaps in a clearer way than you could do with a traditional film, because you're trying to express all these thoughts tangentially as you're interacting with other people. Just something to think about, I guess.
Completely agree. I think you can show, I think an example with the current film that we're developing is Machiavellianism online. How you can say one thing to one person, how you can manipulate and create deceit through actions online, and personality does show through the visuals that you put there. So hopefully that kind of doesn't answer it, but it's just. It
wasn't really a question, the second one, but no, yeah, I just wanted to get your view on that kind of thing, because obviously it's very focused on the screen, but obviously you can explore different dynamics on it as well. Yeah. Just one other thing. How long would you say it would be good to? How long was it yours was set over? Did you say it was 7? Did you say it took 7 days, or it was set over 7 days? The course of the film.
The pitch itself took 7 days.
Right, that was it.
The film itself was still working out the time scale, although at the moment it's looking like it's in real time.
Yeah.
Rather than over a course of days, maybe
that's another
flashbacks.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing, I think, because pretty much everything is done in real time in a lot of these projects, but showing the passage of time could be useful as well, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah, there's some interesting ways to do it with transitions as well. We're finding that with flashbacks, how you can do flashbacks in Screenlife is fascinating. There's so many ideas.
Oh, really? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I'll have to think about that.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Ryan. Next person on my list was Liam. You got a question?
Yeah, hi Nicholas. Thanks very much. That was really intriguing. That. All I wanted to ask was, do you know when you're inserting kind of photographs of people online, and also kind of using kind of you're overlaying text and things on the likes of, say, Sky News, and obviously using images of like Matt Hancock and things.
Yeah.
you have to worry about like copyright and things like that? How do you actually get around that?
So you cut out a bit on my end.
Or is it not just that simple, if that makes sense?
You cut off a little bit at my end, but I think I got the question. So it was about copyright with images.
So all it was I just wanted to find out, do you know when it comes to kind of use, yeah.
Sorry, you cut out, Liam.
I'm sorry, Nicholas, I can't.
Oh, don't worry.
Try a couple of things. Either just turn your camera off and use audio for a minute. And if you've actually got your laptop plugged in to charge, take it out to charge. That sometimes helps with the sound.
Can you hear me, Liam? Because I think I got most of it.
Yeah.
But so in terms of the copyright,
okay, how about that? Is that any better?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
I can now. Yeah.
Great. I think I got everything.
Yeah. Okay. I can.
So I think in terms of the copyright of images, because the pitch was going directly to Screenlife and Basilev's, I knew that I could maybe have more parameters. It wasn't being shared publicly necessarily until I was here. So the copyright, and I clearly state whether, you know, something was faked or not. If I was pitching to a group of, you know, more filmmakers or, you know, multiple studios, I probably wouldn't have done it as much. But I have seen it in other pitch packs. I'm not sure about the legals personally.
Okay.
If I get in trouble, I'll be I'll be apologising to them. But yeah, I think you should be okay for this pitch personally. But it's worth having a look at. I don't want to give any advice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's more kind of as it goes on, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, thank you. That's brilliant, Nicholas.
I think
on images and licensing for pitches, it's not a problem. That's just a pitch. You're just showing that to a closed audience of people. If you went to broadcast it, that's a different thing. You need licenses and clearances at that point. But it's also something to bear in mind, I guess, about the proof of concept, which I think is what's probably behind Liam's question. As you move beyond the pitch into developing the proof of concept, how much material that you can use that's copyright and license. And we'll talk about that as we go through, I guess, depending on specific instances, because some archive things are out of copyright, and there might be ways to use an image that it'd be free to use, right? Or we might have rights ourselves to use for different purposes, right? I think
Joanne, sorry, I just saw Joanne.
Yeah, I was just going to come in on that because it's quite confusing as to what you can use and what you can't use. But I'm absolutely sure. But leave it till next week week 3. Maria is the best person on this. She knows exactly word for word what we can and what we can't use. But there are some things that actually you can use, like social media posts. However, I'll make sure that we get the right legalities out for you over the next week or two, because it is a bit of a minefield. But sometimes there's quite nice surprises in there for what you can actually use and what you can't.
Agreed.
Okay, I think Andrew, you were next on my list. Thanks. Thanks for your presentation, Nicholas. Really enjoyed it. And I guess my question was the one I was wanting to ask earlier, and it echoes the last question we had around copyright. But obviously, now that you're into the territory of actually making the film rather than the pitch, Nicholas, you're obviously dealing with sort of social network applications, conference call applications. Are you kind of generating them in post, or are you just dropping a different skin over what you're able to screen capture with a different logo than say Zoom or Facebook or Skype?
So I can speak to it from a writing. We've not hit post yet, and we're still to shoot. we're just reaching that point now, but I can speak a little bit to it from what I know is that I think this is the way of the screen recording, and I think there's some software potentially. I don't know when that'll be or if it will be, but Joanne might want to chirp. Is there anything that we've got that covers that? I think social media sites generally have public, once they've put an image on or whatever, it's public, their logos and what have you, and interfaces, to my belief at least. I don't know if that's right, Joanne.
Yeah, again, I'm gonna leave it until Maria's here in week 3 because there are some things that we do have that have been generated specifically, you know, the interface and using different things, using different images. But I'm absolutely sure, however, at the same time, I'm not sure, you know, where you're in that little bit of a, so leave it for week 3, make sure that we put it on, we keep that on the pin board.
Obviously it's mega important, because obviously when you're coming up at even at pre-production and getting into writing the script, you're almost reverse engineering the project from the point of view of, well, what's possible, what budgets have we got if we need to get clearances. So
yeah, but that's going back to what Timur said before in when we were having a conversation earlier. I can't even remember now. We had a conversation earlier about budgets, and most of the money goes into clearances and to other images, because it's something that you can do, you know, where traditional filmmaking, you've got huge production budgets. This is very, very different. Most of it is around that. It's around the legal side of it. You'd end up spending most of it getting clearances.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it would be achievable in post, but then it just makes the process post-production heavy. But you know.
Yeah. Oh, it is very post. Yeah. That's one of the things that will come through. You know, we've got a number of proof of concepts in development at the moment. You're talking about 2, maybe 3 days tops for actually the actors and the production side of it, and the rest of it's post. And the same again for editing. It's like there's channel after channel after channel. It is post heavy. But again, even that's all new. You know, so it's a very interesting subject matter, because every level of what we know as traditional filmmakers is challenged.
I think one thing that Timur said that really nailed it on the head was he was talking about wanting to go and shoot that scene, and he made it all visually within the interface. I think the fact that we can rewrite in the edit even more than we used to be able to, with kind of just, you know, putting new sound recordings on top of an actor's lips on the reverse shot or whatever, we can literally rewrite an awful lot of the film in that way. But it hasn't, in terms of the legals, it hasn't impacted anything on the writing stage yet. And it shouldn't do, mostly, I don't believe.
Thank you.
Sorry if that didn't answer your question very well.
No.
Well, I answered the question, Nick. It was good. Thank you. Any other questions for Nick at this point?
Yeah, can I throw a quick question at you, Nicholas?
Yeah.
Did you set out with knowing that Screenlife was going to be the vehicle that you drove this through, or did you have a story and you adapted it to suit Screenlife even better?
So I actually didn't have the idea before. It was as soon as I'd realised that Screenlife was a viable production. It was it mid-part through last year now? It may have been
July.
Yeah. I think I put the pitch in June, and then July was when I had the first meeting with Timur and did the actual in-person virtual pitch. But coming up with the idea was literally spurred from Screenlife. A lot of the ideas within the pitch I'd already been kind of under the fire pit, kind of trying to see whether I could ever do something about them. And it's all about the film's a political thriller, which I've always been interested in. But I think it's finding stories that maybe you've not been able to tell, especially from a budget perspective. The story that we're telling could never have been made, you know, in a low budget. So there's a lot more room, I found, within Screenlife to get that scale.
So Screenlife opened the possibility to do where you felt restricted before. Had you wanted to write a movie before you discovered Screenlife?
Yeah. So I'd not this specific film, but I've written and directed a fair bit before, but you know, it was the perfect model for this, and working it into that. And I really wanted to work with Screenlife and Basilevs. I think they're great storytellers, and I really do think it is a great new way of moving forward.
Yeah. Good on you. Well done, you.
Thanks, Colin.
Popper, you got a question? Paul?
Oh yeah, hi Nick, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing? I love your hat.
Yeah, oh thank you. Yeah, just promoting. I'm from the old school of working with actors and rehearsals, you know, and stuff like where you integrate or meet the actor and go through their characters and so forth. From your perspective, is there a difference when you're trying to rehearse the actor for this new format of filming? Because usually there's that, you meet your actor, you go through maybe some rehearsals with them. Doing this online, I'm just wondering about the challenges that causes where the interaction between the director and actors. How does that does that change the mechanics of getting that performance?
I think I can't speak for specifically this project that I'm on at the moment, but I have done some kind of online directing. I think that a big key is learning to teach your actors that this thing in front of them is the most freeing thing they can have. When it's so unusual to them, it's alien. But essentially, it's in many ways quite freeing for an actor in the same way it is for some filmmakers. That there's not a massive crew with, you know, a boom op and a clapper and the hours of prep. The time we have to take, reset, don't cut, start again, and especially if you're shooting on film or something and you're having to reload, and that essence and the energy that you can get through rehearsing and recording through digital and online, I think it's really interesting for actors. And I think they don't get the catering they might do on a film set necessarily if they're working through COVID, but it's but yeah, no, hopefully that answers your question. But
yeah. I'm just wondering if they're getting the scene wrong. Do you say cut, and then do you go and do you reshoot the scene again? I mean, there's all of these different mechanics that I'm trying to get my head around in terms of the normal way of screen filming with actors. So there's that whole element I was just trying to understand as well.
I think it's a little bit like theatre in some ways, because you could. Joanne will know this, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of Unfriended was recorded in, singular takes all the way through. So I think, I swear that's true. I could be completely wrong, but I think that in the same way that it's like theatre, you can record a full character's journey. It's not, shooting one scene in a non-chronological way. You're not, you've got the room for the actor to have a beautiful character arc in real time. So I think if you love theatre, it's a really interesting way to work.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Nick. Appreciated.
Can I just make a quick comment about big up the actors that have to get into Screenlife, because acting to a wall is a thankless task. You've got no audience to feed off, have you? So yeah, the actors.
Yeah, great.
I think one of the things that's really interesting for actors is the actor becomes a director, if you like, because of course a lot of the narrative is driven through the actions of the actor. So if you think about how you move your cursor as an example, or the bouncing balls, and how the actor responds to their online life, whether it be writing a text, whether they're writing it really quickly or writing it really slowly, and that actually adds to the tension, or the fear, or the emotion that sits within the scene. So the actor's job becomes a lot more they're a lot more proactive, if you like, and whether they can be or whether they couldn't be, but I don't know whether that's the right word, but actually the director's role is to gear the actor towards being the director on their own screen.
Yeah, and they're almost the DOP as well, aren't they? Because you're having to operate the camera.
Yeah. Well, if you've got hold of your mobile phone, and also how you use props as well, everything becomes that little bit much smaller if you think about it. Look at all of our screens right now, and we're in 16:9. You take that into a vertical mode. How are we going to get that Screenlife Liverpool in? How am I going to do that? Everything is challenged, and trying to make it as interesting. I think the best thing, I'm really looking forward to next week's presentation from Ivan, because actually the directing on a vertical screen is another big, it challenges everything we've been taught in terms of composition and light and everything else.
Thanks for that, Joanne. Thank you.
We did a question from the other Nick, from Nick Moss, who's my top left-hand corner.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
I was quite buoyed by the fact that you're going to do a political thriller, which is quite an adult genre, and my instinct is that this market at the moment, as it stands, appeals very much to a younger demographic, and I think my sensibility would be to lean into something that was, a bit more of an adult kind of sensibility or style, or I wouldn't go down the drama route, because I think you do need a genre for this format. I wondered what your thoughts were about that, whether you've known any drama. I know the BBC did some Zoom dramas, which are really cool. But yeah, I wondered whether you got much pushback when you were kind of, suggesting a political thriller, or whether that was seen to be a viable commercial route.
I think I'll do it twofold, because I'll pass on to Joanne for maybe the commercial aspect of why she thought the political thriller might work. But in terms of examples, I think Profile is a perfect example of a genius Screenlife drama.
Right.
It's everything you want in a film and more. It's great. It's intense. It's got thriller aspects. And I think with the political thriller aspect for me it's not been done necessarily before in Screenlife in the way that I personally want to do it. And I think with the current turmoil we're in, speaking to that and how that's operating and how it's operating online, Twitter's, there's a civil war going on Twitter right now, and it's not bullets, it's pixels and, God knows what. And I think looking at things with that eye, in mature ways, because it is impacting people of all ages, I think there are really adult themes that we can bring to Screenlife.
Yeah, I don't doubt the validity of it. It's just the market, really. That's what I'm keen to know. Is there the market for people who are flicking through online content and see that something's in that format, and they sort of instantly kind of like, recoil at it and want something conventional?
And I agree.
I think that again, it's like the platforms are open to all forms of storytelling at the moment, and particularly Nick's just hit it on the head there with the Trump story. You've just had a presidency 4 years that kicked off on Twitter, and actually every element of it has been driven through an online world. So I'm still getting things through my phone about what happened the other day. Can you believe? Nick and I have been talking about different ways you know, getting that Capitol Hill shot. Can you believe? Can you believe the shots that are coming through your mobile phone that have got, you know, the Capitol building, the rotunda, everything else? You know, it's funny because if you think about you made a quote before about Adam Sorkin. It's like you can imagine how are you going to tell that story? There's no way that you could not use a format like Screenlife to tell the story of Trump, because that's how it's played out. And this is the thing about how storytelling has become different, digital storytelling. You know, there was something we were talking about before in terms of the person, you know, a personal journey on your mobile phone. Different ways of telling stories. If you think about an audience in a rock concert, just this is an image that plays out in my mind all the time. There are so many. If you think about, you know, going to a rock concert or a concert, and then you've got all of them mobile phones up and all of them flashes going off at the same time. So you could be talking about 30,000 people taking the same image at one time. That's 30,000 different stories attached to that one image. And that's the same with political thrillers as well. You know, the way that things are playing out on our screens daily just gives us an opportunity to do anything we want, really, Nick, I think.
Yeah, so basically the answer is yes, do what you want. That's what I'm looking for. Which is, you don't have to do horror or comedy, which is great.
No, definitely not. And I mean, and again, it is that. It's like, you know, Nick covered it in his presentation at some point. It's we've grown with a way of telling stories, you know, as filmmakers. We tell it in a particular way. It's like, even as, you know, your everyday life has changed, because most stories play out on your phone. You know, even the WhatsApp text that you get from my grandkids will take me on a completely different journey, you know, than one that is set out to do. So yeah, the world is absolutely your oyster with this one. It's dead exciting.
I think documentary is another one that is a really good genre for Screenlife. I'd love to do a documentary about the history of the internet through Screenlife, for instance. I think that something in that accord, there's great room for it. And in terms of sellability, I mean, I'm not going to claim to be Aaron Sorkin, but that's exactly the main pitching point for the film. Was we want to make a Screenlife film, feels like Aaron Sorkin, that isn't just talking heads. So that's the kind of driving force there. And if it can be successful in traditional filmmaking, hopefully it can be in Screenlife too.
I think if we were only able to make comedies and teenage horror films, we'd be in trouble, Nick. We're very open to other genres, and we're exploring, we're experimenting, we're at the frontier here of finding ways to tell those stories. And as Nick was saying, if you've seen Profile, which I know isn't out yet, but it's a very grown-up piece of storytelling. It's a very grown-up piece of drama.
So we can't see that at the moment then? There's no way to see that?
Not really, not unless, I tell you when we might be able to see it, because it has been shown in Liverpool, but at the end of this course we're going to have, and this again is like, you know, this is down to COVID restrictions, but the plan is that we do a screening, we do a wrap party in the British Music Experience, which is where we were supposed to be based. That's where we were supposed to be tonight to do this, where we will screen the proof of concepts or anything that we've got in for development, and maybe we'll find a way of doing a screening of Profile again. You know, as soon as we can get into a place, there's no problem with us doing a screening for us. We wouldn't be able to do it online, but we could go somewhere and watch it. It's brilliant, by the way. I think it's my favorite in all of the ones that I've made. It's really clever piece of work.
Well, it's not fair telling us how brilliant it is and we can't see it.
I've just said that you can't see it.
I know.
As soon as we've got the opportunity.
I know. I look forward to it. Yeah, great. Thanks.
Do we have a question from Chris?
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say, when people are talking about demographics and audiences, when you think about it, there are companies like Craylon who create clickbait like videos, and you get drawn into them. And some of them are using a similar style thing to the Screenlife, where they're using images, things on the screen, as well as live action. But they are basically scripted and go for 5 to 10 minutes. And yet people are just sucked into them straight away. I mean, they appear on your Facebook, your Twitter, everywhere, and you just get sucked into them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's again like the beauty of this format or language, if you like. It's immersive. You can't help but because you're just drawn into somebody. It's like voyeurism. It's like, yeah, what are they going to say? And the speed of the typing and all of that stuff. It's like, it's really, really immersive, but really engaging. And one of the things that Timur didn't say before, which I must point out, is that the studios that he took it to, where they said it was gimmicky, then he took the stories to, or the films to, festivals, and they won the audience awards. It wasn't the critics awards that they won, it was the audience awards, and they were sold because of the feedback from the audience. So Sundance Searching won the audience awards in Sundance, and Profile won the audience award in South by Southwest, and I think it actually won it in Berlinale as well. There was another one, I can't remember which one it was, but there's a number of audience awards that have been won. So getting past that initial period of engaging buyers into the format was actually through the audience themselves saying, that's what we want more of that.
Yeah, completely. I think there's a great room for intellect with the films, and they're not kind of just horror-y. I mean, there is a hard battle, isn't there, against the idea that it is found footage or what have you, because that lasted for so long, that there is a great audience there in so many different demographics and levels. Yeah. Anything else?
I want to ask a question.
Is Martin?
Oh, is your hand up from last time, or have you...
No, I've got one more question.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to ask this to Timur. In terms of the platforms and the styles, at the moment it's quite popular to use 360 and VR. Has that been used or incorporated, Joanne or Martin, in terms of the film formats, using VR 360 format within the filming of Screenlife?
Well, we're consistently, what we are doing consistently is experimenting with these things. AR was what drove the Snapchat thing. So there was a huge marketing campaign using AR to push The Dead of Night, which was just brilliant. The great big advertising boards in LA had big hands coming out of them and stuff like that. So it is there's a consistency in experimenting with different forms. Now we haven't used 360 or VR that I'm aware of.
Okay.
In anything yet. However, open to any ideas.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Whatever you need to tell your story.
Yeah.
However, brilliant,
ways of making it work and finding ways to incorporate it.
VR Screenlife film would look great.
I know.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
Because you could immerse the audience a bit more if it was like through VR or 360, and that's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if Timur had done a film already in that format, but I think that would really work to immerse the audience even further into the story. If you could, yeah.
I don't want to say he hasn't, because he is like a little bit of a visionary, and he does do things that he's experimenting all the time. He came to Liverpool in end of 2017-18 with the first vertical series that Ivan who's with us next week, he produced called 68, and I remember it being 2017 because we were working on it. They were working on it for 2018. You know, about what was going on in 1968, because it was a very, very interesting year. You know, for huge political upheaval all over the place. So that was the beginning, and when we were in fact, and we were having a conversation about, you know, the new technologies and how they were impacting, and this would be really interesting for Ryan, actually, with what Ryan does. It's he was talking about how we could actually use these different formats to make great things. So this is what's dead exciting about this course.
I know. And the only reason I want to add to that, because I really approached the theatres about 2-3 years ago to do interactive virtual theatre for schools. So that's why I think there's a buy-in in that kind of format where you can interact even more with VR. So it's something I've actually explored with theatre, and I just think it might lend with this format, especially if you're doing something that could attract schools and stuff as well within the genre.
Yeah, and here's what's really interesting about theatre work as well. We've been desperate to find somebody to write something for Screenlife in theatres in Liverpool or the UK since we kicked it off. It's an absolute must, because even for that audience, the way that Timur was talking about sound before, it's like there's so much. It's so exciting when you start to actually play with these, you know, these new ways of experiencing film in different settings.
Brilliant. So okay, thank you.
There's a link there. There's a little bit in the chat there from Ryan, who's given a link to his immersive media company, an invite to get in touch if you want to talk about it a bit more.
Yeah, Ryan does great work.
So you can, that's down there in the chat. Right. Have we got any other questions?
Oh, sadly, I've got another little quick question. What as regards genres that have been ticked off by Screenlife, what's been done and dusted? Obviously horror, and what, you know, is there a comedy on the way? Is there a documentary? What's, you know?
There is a comedy. There isn't a documentary. There is short documentaries, but there isn't one that I'm aware of that's been done. I suppose what's really exciting for all of us here is we haven't made a Screenlife production here yet. So there's been lots of things, like Timur said in you know, his talk before. What we can see happening is the problems that they came across like 5 or 6 years ago. So just like Talking Heads type thing, we're in a really different place for that. The Screenlife has evolved in a number of ways past that. So there isn't anything to talk about that I've got to talk about in terms of documentary film making, especially in the UK. There are productions that have been made in LA and in Moscow around comedy, but we haven't made one here. I'm desperate, as are they, to actually get this format working in the UK. And this cohort 1 is actually about building that talent pipeline to be able to produce films, you know, to get to know the format and start to get it moving here in the UK. We're a little bit behind the times.
So more like Scouse Life than Screenlife.
Yeah, if you wanted. If you wanted, but Nick's from Manchester.
Oh, he won't mind. It's only up the road, isn't it?
Northerners stick together and everything. So
Manchester just wants to be like Liverpool anyway. That's all right.
We've got a question from Jordan.
Hi there. So, sorry, my camera isn't working. It's not agreeing with me currently. No, it's just well, as I'm listening, I'm hearing quite high concepts now of different films and different ideas. But I quite like the intimacy of the internet. Like Joanne was saying, the way a mouse cursor will move and hover over certain selections, and like Timur was saying about what his screen shows about him. And I quite like the intimate details. So do any kind of pictures have to be high concept? Sorry. Or can they be kind of an intimate kind of analysis almost?
They can be whatever you want them to be, Jordan. And again, it's like whatever you're thinking about, you know, someone may pitch something that it works perfectly for, so you could do it within a production group. So it is about developing whatever it is that you know, that this course inspires you to create. So just go for it. Right.
Okay. Thanks for that, Joanne. Thank you.
You know, when the first lockdown started, the BBC's response to it was to remake all the Alan Bennett monologues.
Oh yeah.
And they just remade them straight. Yeah. And I thought that was such a wasted opportunity. You could have remade them, but you can remake them as Screenlife. You know, remake them as what's actually happening in lockdown
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and rewrite it and totally rewrite it to fit that. All right, it's 5 to 8. Just want to wash up now on today's session, really, and think a little bit about the self-guided learning or homework, as it used to be called, for next week and what we're doing next week. So, Joe, do you want to stick this up, or we're looking at thinking about pitching this week for the homework? What do you want us to do?
Well, I think what we can do tomorrow is Rian will send you out just I noticed she put in the chat before that she's going to circulate Nick's presentation, and then over the next 2 weeks, if we could think about a pitch, you know, preparing a pitch. So what I sent over to you was just pretty basic. It was, you know, your title, your log line, your synopsis, and your I don't know whether to put act 1, 2, or 3 in there, but I think let's send something out tomorrow with Nick's presentation attached, and do just like a you know, a what's the word for it? Just that. And my brain is completely just dried up in the last 5 minutes of a very long day. Apologize for it. What's it called? Just a pitching document. Yeah, with you know the
pitching document. That's what they're called.
Yeah, the outline to a pitch.
The synopsis.
Yes. And again, like for next week, you know, if we take the next 2 weeks to think about that, and for when Maria comes, and then if you want to pitch something, then pitch away. If you would prefer to use your skill base within somebody else's production, then that's entirely up to you. And I think what I'd just like to reiterate is that this whole course is about us working with you to develop skills in you know, a way that you're comfortable with, or upskill, because I'm pretty convinced that everybody is at a level to just develop their own skill in a different way. So the self-guided learning is just it's a guideline. It's not mandatory. And let's get to work.
All right. So a couple of things that are coming your way then. We're going to get the presentation from Nick that will circulate. You're going to get the pitch document as well. And what we'll do next week at some point, maybe the second half of next week's presentation, you to see how many people want to pitch in week 3, so we can manage our time when we have Maria with us, and we might have to spread some of them into week 4 as well, depending how many we've got, right? So hopefully that was productive. useful for us this week. Thank you all to everyone. Thanks for everyone for coming. Thanks very much to Nick for his presentation. Thanks to Timur, obviously, but he's gone, so we thank him in his absence. Thanks very much to Joanne. As
he
always.
actually did come back, by the way. I have to
Did
say
he?
that phone call was him saying, shall I come back? But Nick was already in mid-pitch, so.
Yeah, Timur will come back. Timur will come back in.
Should have interrupted me. It's not worth it for me.
No. He needs to know his place. It's fine. You were great, Nick. Thanks very much. And thanks to Karen for running the session as host tonight. Any issues, any questions, give Karen a shout. And also Rianne's here. Rianne's been doing a whole lot of stuff for Screenlife, all the social media and all the messaging, text messages that we're getting, they've been coming from Rianne. So thanks very much, Rianne, for everybody. We will see you all same time next week, 5 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Moscow time, 2 o'clock, what was it? Noon LA time, I think, when we have our friends from Los Angeles. All right, very good. The kids can get back on the internet now, and you can go and have a drink. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
I'm going to stay on with Ryan. Ryan, are you still there?
Yeah. Still
Yeah, we'll stay on. You wanna talk about something?